Former President Trump's employee in court today after being named the latest defendant in the special counsel's superseding indictment of Donald Trump's alleged mishandling of classified documents. Carlos de Oliveira did not enter a plea during his first hearing and was released on a $100,000 bond after being charged with obstruction and making false statements to the FBI. De Oliveira's attorney had strong words for the special counsel when they were leaving court, saying it's time for them to put their money where their mouth is. De Oliveira is accused of attempting to delete surveillance video at Trump's Florida estate during the time the DOJ made multiple attempts to retrieve these top secret documents. And this comes as a federal grand jury is expected to convene early this week, signaling a new indictment could soon be coming for Trump. This time, charges involving January 6th and the attempts to overturn this 2020 election. So ABC News investigative reporter and producer Olivia Rubin is tracking all of this. She is at the courthouse in Miami, along with senior reporter Catherine Faulders in D.C. and Neama Rahmani, former federal prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers. All of you joining us right now. Olivia, starting with you there in Miami, you're inside the courtroom. How did this play out when you see Oliveira and the judge, and what are the next steps until arraignment next month?
Well, I think here we are again in Miami for what was set to be another arraignment in this case that once again did not happen. Oliveira, as you said, did not have the appropriate local counsel so that he could enter in his plea as part of this case. This is the exact same situation that we saw recently with Walt Nauta, who was Trump's longtime aide, who the same situation happened. He actually had to come down here 3 times for that to get underway. So I think all eyes right now on this next court date, which is scheduled for next week on Thursday, August 10th, to make sure that they can get in this really critical sort of legal hearing that they need to kick off the rest of the case. And you asked about next steps, and I think something very interesting here is if this new superseding indictment, the new charges, the new defendant will have any sort of effect on the timeline of the case here. The judge has already set a scheduling order. She has already set trial for May of 2024, and the special counsel has already written a filing saying what we've done here should not impact the case. It should not impact the timeline. So I think all eyes on if the Trump team tries to use this to push it back. But now that we have next week to get through as well, just another hiccup before we can move on to the next part of the case.
Certainly, Olivia, thank you. And Neema, to you, look, they're sort of collecting people close to the former president, right? Do you think there's a possibility for de Oliveira to flip here?
Oh, I think so. I mean, Trump is paying for his lawyer, and he's probably hoping his employee remains loyal to him. But I think, as we get closer to trial and Oliveira realizes he's looking at years in federal prison, he's going to strongly think about cooperating. And this is normal for the Department of Justice. They love this divide and conquer strategy. They like to flip lower level employees, work their way up to the head of the organization. It doesn't matter whether it's organized crime or a drug cartel or someone like former President Donald Trump. They like to get witnesses to flip, to rat, to snitch, whatever you want to call it, Kana, against the real target of their investigation.
Oh, quite the vocabulary there. Now, what about the superseding indictment that also includes these 3 criminal counts against Trump? How significant do you think that is?
Oh, I think it's very significant. I mean, you're looking at an additional Espionage Act charge, but really it's those obstruction charges, the 2 additional ones, because now we're hearing directly from the president, obviously through witnesses, and he's asking his employees to destroy evidence. And every state in this country, including the federal government, has a jury instruction that says, that is evidence of a guilty mind, that mens rea, that criminal intent. People who are innocent, they don't do that. So it's not necessarily the charges themselves, but the evidence in support of the charges. I think this is the most direct and damning evidence against Donald Trump.
And Catherine, despite a growing number of indictments, let's take a look at some recent polls here. Recent polling from Monmouth University shows that Trump continues to bolster overwhelming support as the 2024 presidential election heats up. It almost seems like his grip on the Republican Party is just getting tighter.
Yeah, that's exactly what it seems like. In this recent poll, important to point out that this is among likely Republican voters, but the numbers are really striking. They have Trump at 54%, and then the second person in that poll is DeSantis, but at 17%. So that is quite a difference, and it does seem that these indictments, a looming indictment, is bolstering his support. I should note that also in that poll, it says 72% of people who responded to this poll don't believe that Trump committed any federal crimes. This is also a trend that you're seeing from his allies on Capitol Hill, from Republicans on Capitol Hill. Right when that target letter was reported on 2 weeks ago, his allies were quick to come to his defense. The Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, allies on Capitol Hill like Jim Jordan, for example, without even knowing whether or not there will be an indictment or, of course, reading anything in an indictment since one hasn't come yet. They were very quick to jump to his defense on that. So, look, we'll keep an eye on what Republicans say if and when an indictment lands once they've read what's in there and see if any of this changes.
All right, Catherine, and Trump obviously bracing for a possible new federal indictment over his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election and January 6th as well. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, well, Trump posted on his Truth Social account a short time ago saying that he's expecting an indictment to come any day now. Now, that was pretty apparent from the target letter, which indicated an indictment is all but certain. But again, the grand jury investigating this meets at this courthouse. Typically, they meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They only met one day last week. We know that since the Mar-a-Lago indictment, for example, that this grand jury has still been hearing from witnesses. So again, it's something that we could expect any day now.
Any day now. Olivia, Catherine, and Neama, our thanks to all of you this afternoon. We appreciate that.